Hello everyone, Burb here. I think me and a lot of people are just done with Capricorn Cup. And while I do mean it in that way, the way that you're thinking, this CM really has the most amount of frustrations of any CM that we've encountered so far. And the next one is probably going to be better. There's just a series of unique challenges that this Sprint CM has that is going to be unique to this CM only. And that's why I am moving off of this CM pretty much as fast as I am able to. As I mentioned in other videos, there's a slew of different challenges causing this. You can watch those videos if you like, but I won't be going over that today. Today I'm going to be going over how I followed the anti-frustration plan that I set out for myself, and I was able to manage that frustration and actually get a very good result. Albeit I did get a tiny bit lucky, but you do need some luck in this game. So again, to reiterate, the anti-frustration plan is you build a meta Uma that is passable. You build your Oshi Uma if it's not forcing it specifically because it's sprint, and then you build an Uma that furthers the account, and then you repeat step 2 and 3 or high roll your Oshi Uma if force. There's some hiccups that we had in this process, but this was the framework that I tried to maintain. So to start, what I thought would be the quote-unquote meta, because that's what I read from the JP people, is hey, Bakushin is going to be able to carry you through all the sprint CMs, and that is very much true. This is the easiest character probably to build in the CM, comes with sprint, comes with almost all the skills that you need. The only really thing you need to put on her is VPP, Victoria Por Plancha, ECP alt, and you're good to go. And we got this rather quickly. We had a Sakura Bakushino with decent power, decent wit, turbo sprint, bunch of acceleration skills, a couple of mid-race speed skills. We ended up with head-on, which was very nice to have. And we just, because we raced so much, we just took them all. Didn't really have to think, but we only got sprint A, right? So this is what I would say is a passable meta Uma. I would then go on, I'd build the King Halo just because, I was enjoying King Halo, and we ended up with a nice roll with Burning Spirit Power, which is just an absolutely insane skill. It's pretty much one of the guaranteed big threes that I was talking about, and that being Highlander, Burning Spirit Power, and of course, whatever your style one is, right, on your left, head on, etc., and Victoria Por Plancha for the fronts and paces. And so I got this, and I was happy with this as well. So 2 meta, quote-unquote, Umas that are passable. Then I just was like, I enjoy Air Grove too, so I just kept running it, and I was really kind of chasing, honestly, the first Sprint S, and this is the first Sprint S I ended up getting because of the super low affinity that most parents have with Sprint Umas. Air Grove, of course, is a medium horse, so it has greater affinities with everyone, and we got a pretty decent Sprint S Uma. So I have 3 passable Umas, woo. Got studios because I had 40 skill points, so yep, just kind of funny. So then I moved on to the future, and while I did a bunch of runs, I tried forcing characters. I ended up making a good Dober parent, which was critical to later on in my process. Didn't end up making one ever that I could actually take to fruition, but I did stop as soon as I got this parent because this parent would be key to a lot of the future of, this entire Sprint CM. And so with the future gone, I know you're wondering, where is the Oshi that you're forcing? That would be, the Fun Uma, which would be winning ticket. At this point, I was incredibly jaded. There's so many different skills you need. There's so many different sparks you need on low affinity Umas. I didn't have the parent base to do it this time. And you can see the graveyard, everything except for these 2 on the left were just attempts. And I was sometimes, failing at Kikuka Show. There's a clean out that happened once. I was failing at Kikuka Show. I wasn't able to get, any sparks. The highest I ended up getting was this one, which is hilarious because this was like a guts maxing attempt just to get through Kikuka Show, right? And I got Sprint B. I didn't even get Sprint A because she starts at G, so I had to get to C. So at this point, I was jaded with the CM. This is when I posted that video that was talking about all the frustrations of the CM and how it's kind of unique. And so, hey, it was just very, very not fun. The Fun Uma that was supposed to be fun for me was very, very not fun. So I put winning ticket aside for this CM. We're going to look at later at building better parents the next time it comes around. So I was like, I was going to compromise and pick another Uma I liked, which was Oguri Cap, which I know is a little bit higher meta. And hey, Oguri Cap, you can go from E to A in sprint without anything else. A little bit restrictive, but certainly you don't have to get multiple sparks to get there. And so pretty quickly, I ended up with this Oguri Cap. This is the first character that ended up being in the final team. And as you can see, there's some mistakes. This is a late surger, but it has a bunch of excels. It has pro curve. It has a bunch of mid race. And that was enough for it to start winning room matches, which was surprising. And I don't normally do very many room matches, but this one was just blowing everything out of the water at the time. I'm going to grab some water. And so we had this Oguri Cap, and we came to the realization pretty quickly, why was this Uma beating everyone else? Well, we'll talk about that because we have the team. This is the 3 Umas that I was going to run. The air groove got cut for the Oguri Cap, and here we are. But the realization that I have with this Oguri Cap was, hey, why is the Oguri Cap winning like, it's RNG. It was winning about twice as much as the other two. Well, it was because late race speed skills is very, very real. And I think originally I said that Turf and Sprint were pretty close. I firmly believe that Sprint S is better than Turf S now. I thought it was a little better. I think it is a lot better now because the fact of the matter is if you hit, you reach max speed. And that's what is going to make you win races. But we have a different realization on that later. But because of Triumphant Pulse, turns out Triumphant Pulse is a good skill. You combo that with Rudolph ult, and you have just the most ridiculous late race speed of any character, and that's how she was winning races. She was getting decent enough Excel procs to get to like third or fourth past the third person and just would fly forward. And hey, I was happy. So we have our Oguri Cap to carry us to A finals right there. So we edited the team. Wanted to go and try to get a little bit more better of a Bakushin. We got a couple more Bakushins, right? We got a Sprint S Pace S one that was good, but had a little bit lower stats. We had this one over here that got head on and Highlander, so we had a little bit more consistency, and they were running okay. We ended up redoing the air groove, and this air groove ended up being pretty good because, it turns out the same thing as before. We have home stretch haste, we have a bunch of mid-race skills, and we have just enough acceleration skills to survive, basically. So we have enough chances at winning, and then we have our late race speed skill of home stretch haste. We have some gambling skills like flashy landing that can be absolutely incredible if procced at the right time, and basically Blazing Pride would speed carry over us to victory half the time, or pro curve, etc., etc. So that's where we're moving. So the team edit 1 essentially was at Air Groove, beat out the King Halo eventually. We got a new Bakushin, and here was the team, or so I thought. And this is where we had realization 2, which was this freaking horse, El Condor Pasa. It kind of came out of nowhere for me. I know people were thinking about this beforehand, but they were not in room matches, and I think it was because there wasn't any sprint ones made yet. And so El Condor Pasa Victoria por Plancha second or better essentially gives you a ridiculous acceleration of 0.3 that is perfect timing. And it's basically straightaway spurt for a pace chaser. So you have none of the downsides of being an end closer in this CM. And so El Condor Pasa, or El Carbo Pasta, or El Chiropaletas, whatever you want to call her, was just being absolutely ridiculous. And if she hits, well, she hits. Now, I made an El Condor Pasa pretty early on, and I got what I called a Cope El Condor Pasa because, hey, I got Sprint S on an ECP, which is 2 sparks, which is ridiculous in this low affinity environment we have right now. But this was not winning at all. And after looking at this, it's pretty easy to see why. We had pro curve in the mid race, and we had a ton of accelerations and a ton of pace breakers, but we really didn't have anything to help its on. Like, we had only pro curve, and we were just getting lucky every once. So I never really saw the power of, hey, we're in second place now, and we just win. So I wasn't going to do too many runs on it. I was going to just try and say, hey, we're going to make ECP just because, hey, she's also a good parent for other characters. So if I want to go and cycle back around. But unfortunately for me, I guess, or fortunately, literally the first run I got this monster. And it looks a little bit unassuming. Again, we got Sprint S, which is ridiculous. I had to like stop and start streaming in Discord because it was like, hey, this is the run. So I wanted to make sure I was doing everything right. And there's a little low power, but as we're going to find out, it does not matter whatsoever. But why does this ECP so much better than this one besides the stats, right? Because there's like 200 extra stats. Well, hey, ECP's entire game plan is, hey, let's get in second place, right? How do you get in second place? Well, you get as many mid-race speed skills as possible. And it just turns out that this one has 5 mid-race speed skills plus a ridiculously high wit. And that combined just means that she gets in second place. She can beat front runners for that if she gets lucky on the downhill. It's on also as well counts. And essentially, with that plus the straightaway depth for the late race, and then she has turbo sprint and straight excel to go with plancha. You kind of only need plancha, but sometimes you need 2, but there are options there. Just means that this was an absolute monster of a character. And yes, I got lucky on the first roll. We'll go through that, but because of this, I'm done. Like this is the team right here. The final team, we're running that air groove with low stats. We're running the Condor Pasa, who is probably the one that's going to carry me to A finals, plus give a very good chance at A finals. And Oguri Cap is, I mean, that was the original one. That was just really good rolls, right? The strategy of this is, hey, I have a pace chaser. This is probably the best pace chaser in El Condor Pasa. Hard to build, but once we got there, we have our dice roll for the pace chaser slot saying, hey, we're going to be the VPP one. And then we have 2 different forms of late surges. One that gets good speed carryover that kind of carries it to victory, and Oguri Cap, who just has a ridiculous number of acceleration options. And generally, if Oguri Cap gets to max speed, she wins because Triumph Impulse, right? So we have 2 different late surgers that can hit, and if they hit, they win. And I have a roll of the dice for the pace chaser, and that's the strategy we're going with, okay? So, the decks here, I just wanted to go over this just because I know people get annoyed if I don't clear the decks. It's kind of funny because I had this whole thing planned out with like, hey, we're going to talk about this whole deck here and the ECP in the middle. I understand that I played the game a bit, so I have some cards. So I have Kittison, I have a Bakushin 1, which is a little bit unusual. So, hey, you can swap this out for Shinko Windy and just borrow Finemo, and you're perfectly fine. You just don't get Turbo Sprint. You may just get like straightaway acceleration off of Nishino Flower, and it's completely free-to-play friendly. And then I looked at the other 2 horses and saying, hey, well, I ended up building these other 2 horses when I was just randomly testing Fuku. Which is ridiculous. Like, if we look at Air Groove, like, this stat line was made, and it's a little bit lower than normal wit, but, like, I accidentally had 4 speed cards. So at this point in this CM, just kind of run the cards you want. Like, Shinko Windy is an absolutely busted card if you have her MLB. Like, she is an SSR card. So if you're able to run this or run Sweep Tosho, you're able to hit your stats. And even with this, like, this air group is working out very well with these lower stats of power and wit, right? I say lower, this is going to be a lot higher than a lot of people, I understand, but for the top 1% or 5% doing these room matches, she's still performing with these low stats. And pretty much the key to all of this was that, hey, I made that Dober. This Dober was used as a parent and a grandparent for all 3 of these. So, like, this was like iteration 1 and 3 of the parenting of like going through these decks. We end up using like a failed Oguri Cap as a parent with this Dober for like these 2, and vice versa. And it was really the key to it was doing that 3rd step of try running a few horses that kind of further the account. Again, Dober was not made for her ultimate. Her ultimate doesn't work on this track. It's simply you need to have it proc late on the corner, and it's like meticulous measures. It's like 100 skill point skill. It's not great. But she has such high affinity, and she races so much in her career that like this was able to push up the affinity numbers to like the mid 100s rather than having like 75 just on her own. And when she's combined with Oguri Cap, another character, or El Condor Pasa, another character with great affinities, we were hitting close to 150 on pretty much all of these. And that's really what was causing these sprint sparks, and eventually the sprint sparks that were required for ECP. So again, like parent farming, I'm probably going to make a whole series after this next cup, is just incredibly important. These are the sparks for each one of these. So like they're not perfect, right? But like we were running speed power sparks, speed powers with a little wit sparks, speed power sparks for each one of these, right? Pretty standard. And it was just like the blues didn't really matter too much. It was just the fact that, hey, I have a Unity Cup good affinity character, and I could just put like a Highlander parent in the background, and we were calling it a day. So really, with this air group especially, because it was still doing well, we just kind of learned that you need to just get your skills on a character. Like, your stats are good, but you get the skills, you get the mid-range speed skills, and you're going to win. Skills are king on this CM. So, just a side note, we did end up making a really funny Bakushin. This is kind of just a side quest, I guess. We ended up just getting groundwork randomly, and this was kind of a failed run, but this Bakushin actually won a couple of room matches with competitive spirit, target, insight, lucky 7, lone wolf, and focus as our 5 groundwork procs. If you're wondering how many times it procced, well, it procced 14 out of the 20 times, which is hilarious because, hey, so many people are running pace chasers in this one that usually these two always proc with a focus roll, or we get lone wolf, or we actually got lucky 7 once. So just a little side quest, right? So 2-9 is registration. You got about a week, a couple more days. Highly consider at that point, stop building for Capricorn, start building for Aquarius. That'll be the day that my overview video goes out. You probably want to do some sort of parent farm because this is the first dirt. I'll go over that too, but you don't necessarily need to do a true parent run. You can start building aces, and just as long as you're intelligent with it, they can become good parents, right? It's not going to just be optimal ace building, but it's not going to be as boring as just running, try to get everything to 600, right? And do the whole parent farm stuff. So 2-9 is registration. It's coming up. If you haven't built any Umas yet, I have a guide out if you want to. The only thing I would change about it is Victoria Porplancha is very good on pace chasers if you build a lot of mid-race speed skills, and Give Mummy a Hug's the same way. Those are the 2 guaranteed ones, so I would highly suggest those in the pace chaser guide. Everything else is completely valid in those. So in the future, I think I'm going to be able to fit in 1 or 2 more freeform videos in right before the registration. We'll see. I do have work and a job. But then we're back into the main season after that. So we're going to have the Aquarius Cup guides. We're going to have the Pace Chaser Late Surger and End Closer guides. And then when Capricorn Cup ends, I will probably do some sort of debrief and show you how these horses that I made has done. I completely understand that I played this game a while and I got lucky. But honestly, like I said, this is the most frustrating CM. So if anything, I am just thankful that I'm able to go into the CM with good confidence and not have to bash my head against a brick wall trying to get, an additional 1% win rate, right? So I've reached the point of diminishing returns, and so I am calling it. So I am done with Capricorn Cup, and I suggest that you finish up your run soon too, because this is, again, the highest source of frustration. So with that, good luck on your rolls, good luck on your runs. Burb out.